You've done it. You've actually done it. You've pulled back. You've given her space. You've gone silent. You thought this was the move, the thing that would finally make her realize what she's missing, the thing that would make her reach out, the thing that would make her feel the weight of your absence. But then nothing happens. She seems completely fine, maybe even relieved. You're checking your phone, refreshing her Instagram, waiting for some kind of signal, some indication that she's missing you, some evidence that your disappearance has created a void in her life. But it hasn't. And now you're sitting with something worse than the original pain. Confusion. Because you were told silence was supposed to work. That distance was supposed to create desire. That absence was supposed to make the heart grow fonder. So why isn't it working? Here's the truth nobody tells you. Silence alone doesn't make anyone miss you. It's what you do with that silence that matters. It's the energy behind it. It's whether your absence actually leaves a void. And most men get this completely wrong. The mistake most men make. Here's what happens. A man realizes he's been chasing. He's been too available, too eager, too focused on her reaction, so he decides to pull back. He stops texting. He stops calling. He goes quiet. And in his mind, this is the genius move. This is how he gets her back. But what he doesn't realize is that silence without transformation is just abandonment. It's not strategy. It's just absence. And absence alone doesn't create longing. Absence without value just feels like relief. Think about it practically. When you were together, what energy were you bringing? Were you exciting? Were you challenging? Were you someone she admired? Or were you just available? Because if you were just available, if you weren't creating any real emotional experience, then your silence doesn't create a void. It just removes an obligation. She doesn't miss you. She misses what you could have been. And there's a massive difference. The reason silence isn't working is because you're treating it as a tactic, a move in a game, something to do to her instead of something to do for yourself. And women can sense that instantly. They can feel when a man is gone because he's genuinely moving forward, versus when he's gone because he's strategically trying to make her miss him. One is attractive. One is transparent. One is real. One is performance. The energy problem. Most men completely misunderstand what creates longing. They think it's distance, but it's not. It's loss of access to emotional experience. It's the realization that they're no longer receiving something they valued. If she didn't value the experience of being with you, then your absence doesn't hurt. It just feels like freedom. So when you go silent, the first thing you need to ask yourself is brutal honest. Was I actually creating value? Or was I creating obligation? Because there's a massive psychological difference. A woman might feel obligated to respond to you because you're her boyfriend or her ex or her lover. But obligation isn't longing. Obligation is burden. And when you remove burden, people feel relief. Real longing comes from something else entirely. It comes from missing the feeling you created. Missing the way he made her feel about herself. Missing the excitement. Missing the challenge. Missing the growth that happened around him. That's longing. That's what actually pulls someone back. And silence without that foundation is just background noise. What really creates the void? Here's where most men get it wrong. They think silence is the answer, but silence is just the absence of contact. What creates the void is transformation. What creates longing is watching someone become someone else. Better, stronger, more alive, more interesting, more grounded. When you go silent, the question isn't whether she notices your absence. The question is whether she notices your growth. Does she see you becoming someone different? Does she sense that your life is moving forward without her? Does she realize that you're no longer dependent on her for your sense of worth? That's what actually triggers the psychological response that makes her miss you. Think about the psychology here. When you're chasing, when you're available, You're telling her something subconscious. You're saying, I need you to feel complete. I need your validation to feel good about myself. I need your attention to feel worthy. And at some level, she knows this. Even if you don't say it outright, she feels it. And feeling needed isn't attractive. It's heavy. It's exhausting. It's a burden. But when you pull back and actually use that time to transform yourself, when she eventually hears that you've been working on something, when she realizes you've changed, when she sees you've become more grounded, more confident, more purposeful, that's when something shifts. That's when she starts to question her decision. That's when real longing forms. The transformation phase. So you've gone silent. Good. But here's what you need to do during that silence. You need to actually become someone different. Not for her, for yourself. But she'll feel it anyway. This is where most men fail. They go silent, but they stay the same. They're sitting at home overthinking her, checking their phone, refreshing her social media, waiting for her to reach out, and they're wondering why she's not missing them. It's because she can sense their stagnation. She can feel that they haven't moved forward, that nothing has changed, that the silence is just them waiting, not them growing. Real transformation looks different. It's a man who decides he's going to finally learn that skill he's been putting off. It's a man who gets serious about his health. It's a man who starts pursuing the projects he's always talked about. It's a man who rebuilds his life in a way that excites him, regardless of her. And that energy, that shift in focus, it's felt. Maybe not immediately, but it's felt. Here's the psychological reality. When you're focused on her, when you're trying to make her miss you, you're actually making yourself smaller. You're shrinking your world around her. But when you shift that focus entirely, when you actually build a life so engaging, so meaningful, so full that you don't have mental space for her constantly, you're expanding. And that expansion is visible, it's palpable, and it's incredibly attractive. The patience principle. One of the biggest mistakes men make is expecting immediate results. They go silent and think after a week or two she'll be reaching out. But that's not how human psychology works. Longing doesn't form instantly. It forms gradually. At first, she might not even notice your silence. She might feel relieved. There's no pressure anymore. No texts to respond to, no decisions to make, no emotional weight. She just feels free. And that freedom feels good initially. But as time passes, something shifts. She starts to notice the absence not as relief, but as loss. She hears a song that reminds her of you. She passes a place you used to go. She sees you've done something new and realizes she doesn't know about it. Small moments, accumulating. And then she might see you again or hear about what you've been doing. And you're different. You look better. You seem happier, more alive, more confident. And she realizes something hit her. Not all at once, but gradually. You stopped needing her, and somehow that made you more valuable. This is why patience is critical. You're not planting a firework, you're planting a seed. And seeds don't grow overnight. They grow in darkness, quietly, until one day something breaks through the surface. And by then, if you've actually done the work, you might not even care anymore. Which is the ultimate power move. The emotional detachment reality. Here's something profound. The real power of silence isn't that it makes her miss you. The real power of silence is that it gives you time to actually detach, to stop needing her validation, to stop making your worth dependent on her reaction, to actually become whole on your own. Most men confuse this. They think emotional detachment is a tactic, a way to make her want you more. But real detachment isn't a strategy, it's a reality. It's actually getting to a place where you're genuinely okay with or without her, where your life is so full, your purpose so clear, your direction so strong that she's no longer the center of your universe. And here's what's wild. When you actually achieve that, when you're not trying to seem detached, but you're actually detached, that's when she feels it. Not because she's trying to manipulate you, but because she can sense your freedom. She can feel that you're not dependent on her anymore. And paradoxically, that's what makes her start missing you. But here's the catch. If you're doing it as a strategy, if you're only pretending to be detached while you're secretly obsessing over whether she notices, she'll sense that too. And it kills everything, because the whole thing falls apart the moment she realizes you're still waiting. You're still hoping. You're still depending on her reaction to feel good about yourself. So the real work isn't making her miss you. The real work is actually becoming okay with losing her. Actually building a life that's so good that her presence or absence doesn't define it. Actually reaching a place where you can say, honestly, I'm good either way. And when you get there, when you really get there, that's when the dynamic actually shifts. The growth narrative. Let me paint a specific picture. You decide you're done chasing. You go silent, but you don't just sit around. You start training, not for her, for you. You're in the gym and you're actually present. You're not thinking about her. You're thinking about getting stronger. You start that project you've been putting off. You reconnect with friends. You take on a challenge. You travel somewhere. You read books that matter to you. You build something. And months pass. You're genuinely happier. Not performing happiness. Genuinely living. Your energy has shifted. You're focused. You're driven. You're becoming someone interesting, someone valuable, someone who doesn't need external validation because he's creating internal meaning. And somewhere along the way, she notices. Maybe she sees you've done something cool. Maybe a mutual friend mentions how good you look. Maybe she just realizes she hasn't seen you in months and you seem to be thriving without her. And she starts to wonder, did I make a mistake? Did I underestimate him? Is he actually doing better without me? That's when the void forms on her side. Not because you're gone, but because you're genuinely building something without her. And she's realizing that she wanted to be part of that journey. That she misses not just you, but what you were becoming. What happens when she reaches out? At some point, if you've actually done the work, she might reach out. And here's where most men completely sabotage themselves. They respond too eagerly, too excited, too grateful, and instantly, everything you've built collapses. Because she realizes you've been waiting, you've been hoping, you're still dependent on her validation. If she reaches out and you respond like a man who's been sitting around waiting for her message, she feels that immediately. And it kills the attraction. Because what she was attracted to was your independence, your growth, your freedom from needing her. The moment you show you still needed her, that collapses. Instead, when she reaches out, you respond from a place of genuine ease. You're not excited to hear from her. You're just casually responding. You're friendly, you're warm. But you're not desperate. You're living a life that's so full that her message is a nice moment, not the highlight of your week. When she asks what you've been up to, you don't give her a full download. You keep it intriguing. Just focused on some things that matter, you might say. You leave her wondering. Because the goal isn't to win her back by updating her on your life. The goal is to show her that your life is moving forward with or without her. That you've become someone who's interesting, accomplished, and grounded. And she's realizing that maybe she doesn't want to miss it anymore. The final truth. Here's what nobody really tells you about silence and distance and making someone miss you. The real power isn't in the silence. The real power is in what you do with the silence. It's in the transformation. It's in the growth. It's in becoming someone so genuinely grounded, so genuinely fulfilled, so genuinely alive that your absence actually matters. Most men want the shortcut. They want silence to work like a magic spell. They want her to immediately realize she made a mistake. But that's not how it works. That's not how humans work. We don't miss people. We miss how people made us feel. We miss the experience of being with them. And if that experience wasn't actually valuable, then the person disappearing just feels like relief. So the real question isn't, how do I make her miss me? The real question is, who am I becoming? What am I building? What am I actually creating in my life? Because when you focus on that, when you genuinely shift your energy from trying to make her want you to actually building something worth wanting, everything changes. The dynamic shifts. The power dynamic shifts. And she starts to feel something she didn't feel before. Respect, curiosity, and real, genuine longing. Not for you, but for the life you're building. And if she wants to be part of that, that's her choice. But you won't care anymore because you've stopped making her the center of your universe. You've made yourself the center. And that's the most attractive thing a man can ever do.